Today on Pickleballers, we have an absolute legend, Super Bowl MVP.
My sophomore year, I almost quit football. I've done everything I possibly can to put myself into the best position to succeed. This is big business. There's a lot at stake. Man, I've never been benched in my life. You really have to dig down deep. You get to game day feeling like you've earned the right to win.
Does Drew Brees become Drew Brees if he didn't go through those moments?
The answer is no.
I have so much gratitude for the position that I'm in.
I think you're an amazing role model for all people, especially kids.
I do like an Instagram, Twitter post where I say, I may go back and broadcast. I may try to make a comeback, play football. Yeah. I may become a professional pickleball player. Next thing you know, I'm playing pickleball with John McEnroe.
Would Brady be a good pickleball player? I know he owns a team. Today on Pickleballers, we have an absolute legend, Super Bowl MVP, and one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but his best accolade is being the best celebrity pickleball player, in my opinion, which I think is just a great thing to be said about you,
Didn't you say that to Doug Ellen the other day, too?
No, Doug, I said we talked about Phil
Ellen
Phillips.
Best might take exception to that. And Doug Ellen's best producer.
Yes, best producer of Entourage pickleball player. Yeah, exactly.
Believe it or not, Doug actually said that Phil Phillips was better than him. He didn't mention you were better than him, but I think athletically, you definitely have the edge over him. But the chess game of pickleball, maybe not.
Okay.
What do you think?
I've never seen Phil Phillips play.
I played against him.
But how about this? He actually played, right after American Idol, he played at one of our charity events in New Orleans. This is like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So this is pre-pickleball. So it's just kind of ironic that now it comes back around and we're fighting for the 1-2 slot, apparently.
There's more important things in life,
What's that?
I think also, along with incredible football player, great pickleball player, of all of the athletes, celebrities, influencers that I've met, you are the most kind, generous, just an all-around great guy. And to me, that's like the best part. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
I appreciate that.
And really appreciate you making the time to be here today.
Yeah. I was excited to come on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. And so we ask our guests, how did you get here? And it's not, the Tesla but like, how did you
Tesla that almost ran into me
in the parking lot?
Yeah. How did you arrive to this chair today?
So I grew up in Austin, Texas. Texas kid. Loved sports growing up. Played all kinds of sports: football, basketball, baseball, track, cross country, soccer, tennis. Both my dad and mom were avid tennis players. So on the weekends, in many cases, they would drag my brother and I to the tennis court. And so we got the early exposure with that. And it became a bit of like an after school, what can we shove our kids into activity, while we're still at work, just to, minimize the idle time. So yeah, just like a sports junkie, growing up as a kid. Obviously had the great fortune and blessing of being able to play, professional football, college football, and then professional football for 20 years. But I think I've just maintained this love of athletics, love of high-level competition. The tennis background is kind of what brought me to pickleball, which is also brought me to padel, which has also brought me to, I think, just racket sports in general. I'm just a huge fan of, especially I think when you leave professional sports where, each and every day you wake up with like this weekly goal or objective of like, how do we prepare to go win this game? I think that's one of the things that you miss when you do step away from the professional game is you no longer have like that sport or that objective. That level of competition that like really gets the juices flowing and kind of that end game goal. And so honestly, I think racket sports in a lot of ways has kind of helped fulfill that in the stage I'm at now. Something I have a chance to look forward to, train for, and compete.
How did you decide you wanted to play football over tennis or these other racket sports that your parents were pushing you into?
Yeah, it's funny because football was not my, I wouldn't say my main sport. Like it wasn't my number one. Like baseball was always my number one growing up as a kid. Wow. I loved Nolan Ryan. Like I wanted to pitch like Nolan Ryan. I wanted to hit like King.
Were you a pitcher?
Yeah. I was the third best pitcher on my college team. Okay. We had a lefty go to University of Texas. We had a righty go to TCU, and so I was like I was the third starter and I was the closer. Okay. Right. Fastball, curveball, changeup, knuckleball. But I was a hitter. Like I played short, played third, and was the 3-hole hitter as a left-handed hitter. So like I loved baseball, and I really hoped and that I would have a chance to either go play in college or play at the next level. Ted Williams was my all-time favorite. It's why I wore the number 9 in football. So baseball was by far number 1. Basketball was number 2. Point guard, shooting guard. And then football, I mean, look, you live in the state of Texas, you're going to play football. My grandfather was a legendary high school football coach in the state of Texas for 38 years. So I grew up going to his training camps, basically being a water boy at his training camps.
What school?
He coached all over kind of central and south Texas, but mainly at Gregory Portland High School in Portland, Texas, outside of Corpus Christi.
Okay.
Won a bunch of championships there. But man, like I said, like literally my brother Reed and I, from age, call it 6 until 10, we would go down and literally day one, defensive coordinator, Coach Robertson, would put our head over the trash can, shave our heads. So we'd walk out to training camp practice with a buzz cut, and we're like carrying around the electrolyte water for the guys in 110 degrees South Texas heat, you know? Like, so those are some of my earliest memories of being in and around sports and high level sports. Cause like Texas high school football is, in a lot of these small towns, it is everything. And so I grew up around that atmosphere, and I love that atmosphere, but I think it was more like, okay, here I am, a 6 foot, 175 pound dude, more chances of maybe going to being a shortstop, or a third baseman, at the next level, as opposed to, a starting quarterback. I was certainly not the prototypical guy. Plus, I had moved into a new school district for high school, Westlake High School, which was kind of a perennial powerhouse program. I remember show up day one, and there's 40 quarterbacks out there, and I'm like, dude, I'm never gonna play. What am I doing? So starting B team quarterback my freshman year.
But at this point, you had decided football is the path.
No. I mean, no. This is just kind of painting the picture of like, look, I almost quit football my sophomore year because I wanted to focus on baseball and basketball. Tennis at this point. Look, I played competitive tennis up until I was 12, and then it lost out to the other sports. Because once I got into middle school, it became more about, how can I focus on football, basketball, baseball, knowing that those would be my primary sports going into high school.
And so at what point in high school did you realize, man, I'm pretty good at this sport? And then where it became that all-in focus of like, all right, I'm going to do this at the next level in college.
Let me backtrack a little bit. So, okay, so the tennis. I mean, look, if you ask me as a kid, like I'd say my favorite sport was like soccer, baseball, okay? I remember playing on a high-level soccer team, number 2 in the state of Texas. I was playing in tennis tournaments on the weekend. I played against Andy Roddick 4 times as a kid. He grew up in Austin, Texas as well.
You beat him too.
We're going to get into that.
Well, no, the interesting thing about that, though, is, and to give Roddick a ton of credit, he always played in the division above him, right? Because he was just that phenomenal. Fundamentally, like everything about him screamed superstar. And it was just that he was like 8, 9, 10 years old playing against, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. So like I was older, I was a little savvier, maybe a little more powerful, but like fundamentally this dude would kick our butts all over the court.
Yeah.
Now I happened to beat him the first 3 times we played, but it got closer and closer and closer. And then finally the 4th time.
So you're 3 for 4 against Roddick?
3 for 4 against Roddick.
Was the serve as big back then? Like was he serving 150 mile per hour bombs?
He was small.
Yeah.
Right? So just to get the ball over the net, I mean, it had a ton of spin, right? But it wasn't just with that level of velocity and power.
Yeah.
Again, like we were, he was 8,
kids.
9, 10, I was 10, 11, 12. We were kids. And I was the type of player that like, I had a good serve. I had a good first serve, good second serve, but I was a serve and volley guy because I had no forehand. Everything was just kind of like this cut, backspin forehand. I had a good 2-handed backhand. But my objective was get to the net as fast as possible and just try to overpower whoever I'm playing because I did not want to get in a ground stroke game with you. And Roddick would sit there at the baseline and literally hit 40 ground strokes and pinpoint it wherever he wanted.
Are you guys still buddies? Like do you talk about this?
It's funny. He was out here at the Davis Cup. This is probably 20 years ago. And we had a chance to like reminisce on the moment for the first time. And it's funny because James Blake was like his roommate at that deal, and James Blake lives locally and is a great dude. So it's funny that we had a chance to kind of reminisce on that. And somehow that story came out. And then I think it was like repeatedly thrown at him in like every interview he did. Hey, we heard you lost to Drew Brees.
Oh, that was the origin?
And finally he's like, dude, I am tired of hearing about this. Like,
I want him on the court now.
I know, exactly. Yeah. No, but he was really good natured about it. And so, man, we joke around about it, but like, obviously you could see the trajectory of his career. He beat me that last time and I was like, okay, I'm out.
Damn.
But I was only, at that point, literally every other sport dominated my weekly schedule. And I would literally just show up to tournaments to play in these tennis tournaments. I guess my claim to fame was the Roddick, but I was.
Who wins in a pickleball game right now? You were Roddick.
Roddick won't even
I
play.
haven't seen.
He hates
pickleball. I played my first pickleball tournament ever. I played against Roddick.
Was it pretty good?
Pickleball slam. He was still learning. He had like a knee injury, but I'm saying right now, you think you take him?
It depends on his movement skills. Does he have pretty good movement skills? Still, I mean, I know he's got.
I think he's a good mover. He played in that pickleball slam.
I'm taking Drew.
I'm taking Drew too.
Who's better between him and Agassi?
Agassi.
So I'm playing Agassi in our charity event in August in New Orleans.
What's the date of that?
So it's August 8th.
August 8th. Check it out. We went the first year. Absolutely incredible experience.
Tennis was, I wouldn't say there was, like I appreciated tennis, and I look back on tennis as probably being one of the most complementary sports to me playing the quarterback position because of the footwork. Also, I obviously loved baseball. In tennis, forehand, backhand, I became a switch hitter in baseball. And when I started thinking back to it, it was like, well, yeah, I was used to playing the ball with power from both sides. And so you think about it, stepping in the box, right hand, left hand. Now I was more of a natural left-handed hitter, so that was my primary. But when a lefty got up, man, I'd switch over and just bat right-handed.
Wow.
So still to this day, I'll get up and hit.
What's up, pickleballers? Are you looking for the perfect energy boost on and off the pickleball court? Look no further than Rainstorm Clean Energy. It's not only great for energy, but it's great for your skin and hair. Look at my skin and look at my hair. Do you want that? Yes, you do. Fuel your game today with Rainstorm Clean Energy, available on Amazon.
Yeah, the theme is like you're an athlete. You've been able to play all these sports. And clearly, I mean, you're beating Roddick in tennis, and then you're going out and obviously you wanted to be a professional baseball player. For football, at what point were you like, I have to put all my eggs in this basket. I have to continue down this path. And what did that look like?
My sophomore year, I almost quit football. I was the backup quarterback on JV, but the guy who was the starter was like the heir apparent. His older brother was the varsity quarterback. He was next in line. Like everything about that was, man, I'm just going to sit the bench and I'm never going to see the field. Like, why am I wasting my time with this? I should focus on basketball and baseball because that's where I really think my opportunity lies at the next level. So I remember coming home after a training camp practice, sitting with my mom, like, Mom, I think I'm going to quit football. And she's like, why? And I'm like, well, I don't think I'm ever going to play. Why am I wasting my time with this? And she's like, I mean, do you love it? I say, look, I love being with my friends. I love the competition. I love the challenge of it. I love having the ball in my hands. I love the way that feels. I said, but, I just don't think I'm ever going to get an opportunity. She says, you never know when your opportunity will come. So stick it out. You've committed to it. You're not going to quit, mid-training camp. So stick it out and play the season, and we'll reevaluate at the end of the season. And a week later, that starting quarterback tore his ACL in the final scrimmage before the season. So all of a sudden, I'm thrust into the starting role.
JV.
And this is JV.
Yeah.
But sure enough, like there was that opportunity. You never know when your opportunity will come. And so we ended up having a great JV season, went undefeated. And then I was now kind of the next in line to go and win the job. So competed, won the job, was starting quarterback as a junior. And then ironically, I tore my ACL in the playoffs at the end of that season. And then he came back in.
The same guy, wow.
The same guy. But it was, but that was a pivotal moment because like by me tearing my ACL at the end of the football season, my junior season, that was an 8-month injury back in 1996.
Yeah.
So and this was late November. So I missed the basketball season, junior year. I missed the baseball season, junior year. This is when you get recruited, right? So all of a sudden I don't have that tape to put out, right? And I hadn't played varsity basketball or varsity baseball yet. So it almost, in a way, I wasn't on anyone's radar.
Yeah.
And so all I had to focus on was just getting my knee back to just hopefully being what I was before. But it was the hardest thing I'd ever had to do at the time, but also one of the most impactful because, man, I gained 20, 25 pounds of just muscle from the whole rehab process. But more importantly, what was happening up here. I mean, I became stronger in my faith. I became just a tougher, mentally tougher individual, having to go through that whole process. And also, I think just a sense of gratitude. Like, man, I have no idea what my athletic career is going to look like. I'm just so thankful to be able to come back and step on the field again. So we ended up going on and winning the state championship that next year.
But you had to battle that dude again.
Well, I had to battle him again to win the job. But again, that was like at that point, it was like, this isn't the hardest thing I've had to do. I've just overcome.
Rehab, yeah.
So, and still in the back of my mind, like, yes, football is important just because of the guys that I'm playing with and my teammates. But in my mind, I'm still thinking like, I'm going to college to play baseball. Even after I accepted my scholarship offer at Purdue and signed my letter of intent in February of 1997, I was going to the baseball season where I'm like, if I get a better offer in baseball.
Like if you get drafted.
Yeah, major league teams reaching out like, hey, where do we need to draft you in order for you to choose baseball over taking a scholarship to go play in college football? So we had those conversations.
What was the
I
answer?
didn't get top 10 rounds.
Okay.
Top 10 rounds, I'd go to baseball. Otherwise, I'm going to go to college, get a great education, play in the Big Ten in this spread offense, and I'm just going to walk on the baseball team.
I wish. So when I was, I was a top tennis player when I was younger and had a spurt of injuries that I went through when I was 15 that I think took a big toll on me mentally at the time. And it's just weird, like hearing you talk about how you got through those injuries and how it made you mentally tougher. Like, I wish I could have heard something like that back in those days when I was going through those moments. And I think that's really important, how like a lot of this adversity actually builds you and can actually create a stronger person who then goes on to be Drew Brees. Like, does Drew Brees become Drew Brees if he didn't go through those moments? And I think that's really special.
And the answer is no.
Yeah.
The answer is no. And honestly, it's like, not to get on a soapbox about NIL and transfer portal, but it's the biggest problem with transfer portal now.
Yeah, I agree.
Is that it's like the first sign of adversity or difficult times, a player is very quick to just jump ship, right? And it's hard for a coach to feel like he can really be hard on a kid or really coach a kid for fear of hurting their feelings, and all of a sudden they want to go elsewhere.
And also even like coaching them and knowing that they're probably going to be gone.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, look,
I feel like
I just think we're robbing these kids of their personal development, character development, leadership development. Like, there's so many great examples of guys who came in and, man, they really struggled. And if there was the option to leave, if you were making it that easy on them, they might have. But they were forced to stay. They were forced to stick it out. They were forced to discover things about themselves that maybe they didn't know were there. It forced others to maybe extract those things out of them, right? Mm-hmm. And then to help them become the person and player that they were meant to be. And I'm sure they would, at the time, they were saying, this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I hate this, blah, blah, blah. And now they look back on it like, man, I am so glad I had the chance to go through that. Yeah. Because it's truly molded me and strengthened me into who I was meant to be.
Yeah, I think that spurt for me of injuries that was so gruesome, and I felt like my identity was just ripped from me because I was this, tennis player who this was my identity, and all of a sudden it's like you can't play anymore. I think it actually did help shape me as a person, but also like I'm just thinking about where I am now, like sitting here, we're doing the podcast with Drew Brees, like it really has taken me on a completely different path. I get to wake up every day and I get to play pickleball, which is something I love to do, and like I wouldn't change it for anything. And so, I guess again, like I wish I knew that back in the day.
So you have a tremendous career at Purdue, and then what?
I get drafted to the San Diego Chargers in the second round of the 2001 draft. I come out here to start off by being the backup to Doug Flutie, which honestly I could not have envisioned a better situation. I think Doug Flutie is one of these like revolutionary type players, a guy who has never gotten the credit that he deserves. But like he was the Patrick Mahomes before Patrick Mahomes. Totally. Like I saw this dude making plays, back shoulder throws, no look passes, like some of the most creative stuff that you've ever seen. And yet he just had this stigma because he was 5'9", 185 pounds.
Yeah.
But the guy played 22 years of professional football at every level, right? And he was instrumental as a mentor and just as an example of someone who I could just watch and like glean from. I learned so much from Doug. And so I backed him up for a year, and then we had a chance to compete against each other when Marty Schottenheimer came in as the head coach in 2002. I won that job, and so then Flutie was my backup for 3 years. But man, that was kind of the start of like a bunch of ups and downs for me and just learning how to be a pro. I was benched 3 times during the 2003 season. And so Doug would come in and look, I mean, I had some.
This is your second year?
And look, did I deserve to be benched? Yes, I did. Like it was at a time when, look, as a team, I think there was high expectations, and we weren't quite living up to those. I felt the pressure to kind of pick up the slack, and so I think I really started to press. I think as a player, and look, for the first time in my life, I felt like I probably lost some confidence, and then all of a sudden you get benched, and you're like, man, I've never been benched in my life, right? Like, what is happening here? So man, you really have to dig down deep. But again, it forced me into one of those, periods of time where I knew that each and every year I had to prove it.
Yeah.
You know?
So you can either let it crush you or you can use it to your advantage.
And so, like, I mean, Flutie was a perfect example. Like, literally every year, this dude just had this chip on his shoulder. It's like, I know there are always those that want to doubt me, right? And so I have to prove it every year. And look, I think that could be like a negative mentality. But for me, it was more like, I know there are those that are putting a lot of faith in me. I know there are those, like Marty Schottenheimer, man, he was my biggest fan. He was also the guy that would always tell me the truth. And it was like, if you're not getting the job done, I got to sit your butt on the bench and put somebody else in there, because that's within the best interest of the team.
Yeah.
And so I always appreciate that. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But I appreciated the fact that he was always doing what was in the best interest of the team. And man, we had some knockdown, drag out, screaming matches on the sideline and in the hallway of the locker room, and then in his office where, hey, I didn't always agree with what he was doing, and yet I knew he had the best interest of the team at heart. So, but that sent me into this 2004 offseason. So going into the 2004 season, where I knew that, hey, I'd been benched 3 times. There was a really strong quarterback class coming out. That was the Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, Roethlisberger draft class. So 2004. And Chargers had the number 1 pick in the draft. And this was that whole drama of they wanted to draft Eli Manning. Eli came out and said, I don't want to be drafted by the Chargers.
Yeah.
And so they draft Eli. The Giants draft Phillip with the 4th pick, and then they swap.
Yeah.
Right? And so now here comes Phillip Rivers. And it was basically like, I remember Marty Schottenheimer sitting down with me before the 04 season saying, I believe in you. I believe that you can be the franchise quarterback here for a very long time. But there are those in this building that don't.
Wow.
And so they are going to either bring in a free agent guy or they're going to go draft somebody really high. Sure enough, they drafted somebody really high. And so it was.
How did you take that?
This is a business. This is big. This is big business. There's a lot at stake. You know, jobs are at stake. You know, everybody's job is at stake. Like it's a win for me now, business, and these are the expectations. So like, you can either get mad at it or you can just accept that this is the way it is. Yeah. And so, which was fine. But it was also like, okay, I need to do everything I possibly can to be the best player I can be, the best leader I can be, put myself in the best position to succeed for this team. So that offseason, it was like, man, I'm looking at my diet, my sleep habits, my training, my recovery, like everything. And I think just my overall leadership style and like my assertiveness and how I wanted to approach the offseason, which is making sure everybody knew that, man, I'm the leader of this team. I'm your quarterback, right? And so I just tried to set that tone very early through that offseason. And then, sure enough, going into the training camp, I'm competing against Doug and Phillip. I don't know if there's been a situation where literally 3 guys are competing for the starting job, you know, on an NFL team.
Three great quarterbacks.
Unless you're the New Orleans Saints this year,
right?
I think you got 3 guys competing for the starting job. But yeah, that was the scenario. But again, like just keep in mind how this is just molding me and strengthening me. Like it just gave me this mentality, and this goes back to high school. Like every year, whether I'm truly competing against somebody or if it's just in my head, I'm competing against myself or someone else to be the very best that I can be for the team at that moment. And so I was used to that. And honestly, I think that's what brings out the best in people. You don't want to be in a position where you don't have somebody pushing you, right? Mm-hmm. Or you don't feel like you have something to prove. I think that's called complacency, right? If you're always in a mode where I have something to prove or I am always looking for ways to improve, then I think you're always staying ahead and playing with an edge.
John Mackey from Whole Foods, we just interviewed him. He talked
he's
about,
a stud.
Yeah, he talked about, people were coming in and trying to copy Whole Foods, and he said, they're iterating and taking what's working and then improving, and then he's having to go back and iterate and improve. Mm-hmm. And I think that's great. I think it's great for business. I think it's great for the mental, mindset and personal growth. So.
Yeah, look at every industry, right?
Yeah.
It's constantly trying to stay ahead.
He literally said, he goes, evolve or die.
Right?
Like as bold as that, but I think it's true. It seems like a very common theme for your best moments throughout your career was that it started just with your mind, and that it was that decision that, all right, I got a lot at stake. I'm going to be the person with the chip on my shoulder, and I'm going to really do everything I can to set myself up for success. With your best performance, what did your mind look like, and what was your thought around being a high performer? And what I mean by that is when you were at your best, your peak performance, what did your mental state look like?
Yeah. So try this on for size. This is because I know this applied to me playing the quarterback position, but I don't see why it wouldn't apply to every sport. Look, obviously there's fundamentals that are unique to every sport, right? And I think that I think that the harder that you focus on your process and those fundamentals, I think the goal is that whenever you get to game day, right, whatever that is, that you get to game day feeling like you've earned the right to win.
Wow.
You've earned the right to win, okay? Like, I've done everything I possibly can to put myself into the best position to succeed. So I need to trust my training. I need to trust my instincts. And this should be the fun part.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this should be the part where all that hard work, pays dividends, right? John Gruden used to say, game day is the opportunity to showcase your preparation, right?
Love that.
Like, so it should be fun,
Yeah.
right? That should be the fun part. But like to take that a step further in playing the quarterback position, it's funny because like I had people ask me towards the end of my career, like, how do you evaluate yourself after a game? Like, how do you evaluate? It's funny because I started thinking about like moments in a football game where, let's say I drop back to pass on 2nd and 7 and all of a sudden the right guard just totally whiffs, and I got the Aaron Donald coming to take my head off, right? And if I know that, hey, I've got a receiver here and he's not open, but at least I can throw it away, right? I'm going to throw that ball away. I'm going to take the hit. Boom, I'm going to pick myself up. And now I just got my team to 3rd and 7. Mm-hmm. As opposed to if I didn't know that guy was there for me to throw the ball away to and I took the sack, now I'm at 3rd and 12. Well, what's the difference in success from 3rd and 7 to 3rd and 12? 3rd and 12 is like a 10% success rate. 3rd and 7, we were like a 50+% success rate. So again, like, it's a game of odds. It's a game of probabilities. Like
100%.
So by me making that was a great decision to throw the ball away because it put us in a more favorable 3rd down situation. But on the stat sheet, that's an incompletion, and that just hurt my quarterback rating, right? So is that the best way to evaluate me? Like looking at a statistic or what? So it made me say to myself, I'm going to grade myself on my decision making, right? So my goal every time I step on the field is to be the best decision maker that I can be. Mm-hmm. So from play to play, that's all I'm going to think about. I'm not going to be results driven.
So wins and losses.
Yeah. I mean, look, the ultimate goal is to win, but you're just trying to put yourself in a position to win.
Yeah.
Right.
Preparation, decision making.
Yeah, but like, I know that if I can look back on every play in the game and say I made the right decision. Hey, maybe I missed the throw. I threw it to the right guy. Was my timing good? Yeah, my timing was good. So what happened? My elbow dropped a little bit. Okay, I can fix that, right? Like that's just a fundamental thing. I can fix that, right? So your ability to be a problem solver, right, in the moment, but more so just like, did I make the right decision, right? Did I run the ball over here because we had the right, shade versus a 3 technique? We ran away from the safety because he's a better tackler than this guy. Like I made the right decision. So more often than not, that's going to end up in a good result. So focus on the process. The result takes care of itself. Be a great decision maker. Good things happen. Put yourself in a position to win in the end, and relax and know that you've trained for that moment. You visualized it 1,000 times, and so you've almost won the game before you stepped on the field.
What's up, pickleballers? I've got the Franklin C45 pickleball paddle here. This thing's played by J.W. Johnson, Hayden Patriquin, Paris Todd. It's one of the most versatile pickleball paddles in the market. Tons of power, tons of pop, tons of spin. You got to get this paddle. Check it out, franklinsports.com today.
Let me ask you. So, and I want to get back into kind of the NFL career and then the Saints, which I think is, when I think of Drew Brees, I think of, just the insane career that you had with New Orleans. But you're talking about the mental preparation, the visualization, the decision making. What percent? How do you break down percentage wise your success from skill, natural ability versus preparation, decision making, all of the mental stuff? Like, were you the hardest worker? Did you have all the ability? How would you break that down?
I think the preparation, both mental, physical, finding the things that really worked for me, the training, the recovery, that was the large part of it. But look, there's a lot of God-given ability there too. Again, this goes back to, as a kid, just being such a sports junkie, and all I wanted to do was play sports and have the ball in my hand. And I will say this, that question kind of brings me into just like multi-sport, in this discussion around multi-sport. Mm-hmm. I don't think I played 20 years in the NFL if I didn't play all those other sports as a kid. Because I've had this described to me by like PhD guys, that have done multiple studies on this, and that is that you build like this myelin and like these nerve instincts from playing multiple sports that just kind of log away in your brain and in and around your nervous system, that those things come out at some point. And so like the tennis, the footwork stuff, and the hit right, hit left, train right, train left, like all those things helped contribute to me playing the quarterback position. Like I feel like I drew on those things, especially later in my career, where I truly did start to lose some physical abilities. Like, man, I couldn't throw the ball very well past 40 yards for the last 3 years of my career.
Wow.
Now, I was still 74% completion.
Yeah.
And like I'd dice you up like inside of 40, because I knew where to go with the ball, and I knew the timing in which it needed to be there, and I knew where I could get rid of it if I got in trouble. And, you lose a little bit of mobility. Hey, that's okay. Like I just got to be more on point with my timing, my rhythm, right? So whatever you begin to lose, you begin to try to pick up elsewhere, right? Yeah. It's like, when you take away one sense, all the other senses are heightened, so it's a little bit of that. You just kind of play with the hand that you have, right? But I mean, so much of it is preparation. So much of it is timing, rhythm, knowing where to get the ball out of your hands, especially when the physical skills start to diminish.
And pickleball fans, we will get into the pickleball, but the transition from the Chargers to the Saints.
Yeah. So, I go through all that stuff with the San Diego Chargers, and then that 2004 season that I referenced, the off season of going through this whole, kind of like renaissance. Come out in 2004, win the job, so Doug Flutie and Phillip are the two other quarterbacks, but I end up being the starter. We end up going 12-4, we win the division, and I make the Pro Bowl along with Antonio Gates and LaDainian Tomlinson. And like that was kind of like the breakthrough, end up being comeback player of the year that year, and then come back in 05 season, have another great season. And it's one of those where now it's like, okay, finally, after everything I've been through, I've kind of like solidified myself as the franchise QB for the future of the San Diego Chargers. And then the last game of the season against the Denver Broncos, I end up getting hit, ball comes out, fumble, everybody jumps on it, and I come out of that pile with a dislocated right throwing shoulder. And it's weird because you never visualize that happening to yourself. And yet the minute that it happened, I knew exactly what it was. Like, there's plenty of times I think where you have an injury and you just kind of go into shock and you're not quite sure what's wrong. But like, dude, I mean, first off, my arm was stuck like this, right? So I'm like, I think I dislocated my shoulder. But there was this feeling of shock that went over my body, and it was like, okay, this is probably the last time I ever put on a Charger uniform. And it's like, man, it may be the last time I ever play football. And I remember going to the sideline. The doc slips my shoulder back in the socket. It's like Lethal Weapon, And then we go in and get the MRI or get the X-ray, and then all of a sudden I'm on this journey of like, what do I do? What doctor do I go to? Like, I have to get this operated on quickly. They don't know the extent of the damage because there's so much swelling that they can't really see it. So you're just like, man, I'm going to this off season of unknowns where here's some interesting stuff that not a lot of people know. So number one, I knew that I would never play for the Chargers again because I knew there were those in the building that were just looking for a reason to have Phillip take over, right? And so I knew that was pretty much a foregone conclusion. The other one was like, truly, would I ever play football again? And I had a successful surgery. The doc was like, hey, this is going to be a long recovery, 8 months, but you'll be able to come back and throw and play again. But still, there was this doubt. Well, prior to that season, I had played on the franchise tag that season because I played my first 4 years on my rookie deal, and then they franchised me for that 5th year. And so the idea was like, okay, you did it once, prove it again, and then we'll give you a long-term deal. Well, I went out and bought an insurance policy with Lloyd's in London. And it was one of those things I did in college my senior year as just like catastrophic injury. What are the chances of this happening? But insurance policy, if, that's there just in case. So I actually had a decision to make at one point where it was like, I could sign with an NFL team and the policy goes away, or I could just collect on the insurance policy. And so it was like literally one of those like staring in the mirror where I've got a $2 million insurance policy to never play the game again with this very slim chance that I'm ever going to be able to play anyway.
Wow.
But I was like, you know what? I love this game too much, and I feel like I'd be cheating myself if I didn't at least try. And so that was kind of just like an interesting moment where like it was like, okay, no turning back. Here we go. And then free agency begins. It's down between the New Orleans Saints and the Miami Dolphins, and on paper that was the easiest decision in the world. The Miami Dolphins all the way. Nick Saban, playing in Miami. The same offensive system as the San Diego Chargers, and then here's the Saints, 6 months post-Katrina, city totally destroyed, some unknown head coach named Sean Payton come over from the Dallas Cowboys, doesn't know what he's doing, and I think at the end of the day,
didn't the Dolphins? Wasn't there something where like wasn't there something there that happened?
Yeah. Like the whole thing with the Dolphins was they put me through. It was an unbelievable visit, with the exception of 6 hours worth of testing where their doctors didn't trust my ability to recover from this injury. So I did the whole contrast therapy MRI where I'm like in an MRI tube for 2 hours after being injected with all the saline solution. It was miserable. And then they started sticking these long needles in my shoulder to like test my nerve endings to see if I was going to like have nerve damage in my fingers and hand.
Wow.
So like, dude, it was crazy. Like literally
big
6 hours,
business. I mean,
miserable.
yeah.
But look, they had to check all the boxes, right? And at the end of the day, after that testing, they went to Nick Saban and said, we think he has a 25% chance of ever coming back and playing again. Those were their words. Those are their words. And so in my one of my final meetings with Nick Saban, he told me that. He goes, hey, we have some doubts. My doctors are telling me that you have a 25% chance of coming back and never playing again. I said, well, what do you think? And he just kind of paused and was like, well, I know what you can do when you're healthy, but, I've got to trust the medical professionals and their opinion on this. And I was like, okay.
Nick Saban, big miss.
I appreciate it. Well, no, look, I mean, he was just acting on the information that he was provided, but. And look, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Because here's the thing:
who did they go with? Like Ryan Tannehill or something?
No, Dante Culpepper. But yeah, that was so. Dante Culpepper was coming off a really bad knee injury.
Yeah, but he had a 30% chance of.
Whatever he had a better. Yeah, but I had gone on my visit to New Orleans, and had that moment with Sean Payton where he got lost and. We saw the devastation, and I looked at my wife, and I was just like this is so much bigger than just football. Like truly, this is God's calling. Like we're meant to be here.
You're driving around with Sean Payton. He gets lost. You're seeing everything.
Yeah. Like I had an incredible visit in New Orleans, despite everything. Like they had done everything they could to hide all of the devastation and the things that people would have said negatively about New Orleans. But it culminated to kind of this final drive to this neighborhood where he was building a home because he was trying to communicate to my wife, like, look, despite all the devastation, there's these great neighborhoods where you can live and great schools and raise a family because we were, two young newlyweds and, wanted to start a family soon. And then on the way back to the airport, he gets lost in the Lakeview neighborhood, which had just been completely wiped out from the hurricane.
Is he freaking out? Is he like,
he's totally freaking out.
Drew,
Yeah.
just look at me. Don't look out the window.
Yeah.
Tunnel vision, Drew.
No. Yeah, he pulls around the corner and the car stops and there's a tugboat in the middle of the road and we can't go any further. And there's
he's like, look at me, Drew.
A Chevy truck in a living room.
This is a simulation
off a foundation. And I'm looking at my wife like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? He's calling up the general manager like, yeah, I'm lost. Like,
he's not coming to New Orleans.
Drew's in the car. He's like, I might as well drive him to Miami right now. He's not coming here. So like all these thoughts.
But in your mind, you're like,
look, it had the exact opposite effect, which was like, my wife and I looked at each other like, this is so much greater than football. Like how many times in somebody's life they get this opportunity to be a part of something like this? And yes, my job would be quarterback leader of this football team, win football games is the greatest thing we could do for the city right now. But like to be a part of these rebuilding efforts and the resurgence of one of America's greatest cities is, an opportunity of a lifetime. And so that's really why we chose New Orleans.
And then you had a great career. For those who don't know, I'm a huge Atlanta Falcons fan. I remember I was playing with Drew pickleball somewhere, and I was like, come on, Falcons versus Saints. He goes, let's not get this wrong. I'm a Saint. You're not a Falcon. He's like, you're a Falcon fan? He's like, I'm a Saint.
All right, so tell me, you had this amazing career. How did you find pickleball after your career, and how has it impacted your life?
Yeah, so it's funny because I remember playing pickleball or a version of pickleball at like this camp when I was a kid. But it was I feel like it was like an archaic version. Same court, but it was like a wooden paddle, maybe more of like just a traditional wiffle ball or something like that. And so I remember just this game that I really enjoyed because I kind of had this tennis background. So anything like, whether it was tennis or ping pong or whatever, this game of pickleball that I liked. So I had always kind of remember that. So when we were building a sport court back in 2018, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do basketball, but I want to line it with a pickleball court because I kind of like want to revive this, feeling of like my summer camp days playing this sport. And then all of a sudden COVID hits, and then pickleball just kind of becomes universal with everybody taping, courts in their driveways and stuff. So that was kind of what brought me back to pickleball was, hey, I'm going to build this sport court and I want to line it with pickleball and kind of get my kids into it because I could never get them into tennis, but maybe this is like a fun little family sport that we can do in the backyard. And then that led to all kinds of other pickleball opportunities. It's funny. So I retire in 2020. 2021, I go and I work for NBC doing broadcasting. And then it's the 2022 off season. And there's all this speculation, like, am I going to go and broadcast again? And there's a couple of these media people that just start like throwing out, misinformation about me and what I'm going to do. And so I'm like, you know what, I'm going to set the record straight, but I'm going to have some fun with these guys. So I do like an Instagram, Twitter post where I say, hey, I know there's a lot of speculation. I may go back and broadcast, with NBC this fall. I may try to make a comeback, play football again, play quarterback again. I may become a professional pickleball player. I don't know. I'll let you know.
I saw this in the moment.
Like it was just totally tongue in cheek, messing around, right? Well, that like sent the media into a frenzy. I mean, I literally turned on ESPN the next day, and literally they had like 3 entire segments devoted to me making a comeback in football. Yeah. But then all of a sudden, I start getting all these calls out of the blue, like, "Hey, are you serious about pickleball? Like, hey, we can help you train for it. Like, we can do that." And then, sure enough, Zubin Mehta reaches out, who was managing partner and owner of the Mad Drops Pickleball Club. And it's like, hey, there's this league, MLP. We're growing, we're expanding. We'd love to have you as part of our group. Let's talk. And I was like, this is pretty intriguing. Like, I didn't realize this existed. And so that just kind of sent me down into this, opened up this whole new world of professional pickleball. And that was really what kind of started the whole, movement, I think, for me with being so involved with pickleball.
And now it's not just the Mad Drops. You're involved in the Pickler and maybe some other pickleball ventures. But like for a while, I feel like pickleball was kind of, I feel like every thing about Drew Brees I saw was like pickleball related. It was like this thing, were you like obsessed with it? Were you like playing all the time? Or was it mostly just like, I'm just having fun with it. I'm just seeing what opportunities it has.
Yeah, look, I've always been kind of like, multi-sport or, kind of cross training, cross sport. So I've always liked doing a lot of different things. But yeah, pickleball, I think certainly at that time, 2022 and beyond, it was like, man, it was fun. I had a bunch of competitive groups I'd play with. Look, that's how all of us met, right?
Necker Island.
At Necker Island or different events. And, next thing you know, I'm like, playing pickleball with John McEnroe, I'm playing with Agassi this year. And so I think the doors that it's opened up, and I think just the connection that you now have with so many people across a number of different industries that just kind of, took the sport as well. I think it's been really interesting how that's opened a lot of doors.
So tell me a little bit about the Pickler. And I know this has been a big investment in pickleball that you've made. And why'd you do that?
Yeah. So the Pickler is a membership-based indoor pickleball franchise concept that started in Utah and is now spread throughout the country. I'm actually part of an ownership group that is the area developer for 3 states, so Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. I'm also a brand ambassador and an investor in the overall franchisor company. I've been in the franchise business for about 15 years. An owner or a franchisee in a number of different brands. So I've always I've always kind of gravitated to the franchise, business as just a great business model from the perspective of, number one, like there's so much authenticity to the brands that I get involved in. Typically, I start off as like a customer, a fan of the product, or a fan of the brand. I love building teams, love building brands, and then just the unit economics, the opportunity that we have to help others be able to kind of establish and own their own small business and be integrated in their communities. So I think Pickler specifically has the ability to be the best in class, the premier indoor, pickleball facility around the country, especially when you start thinking about places in the Midwest, Northeast, Southeast, where, 4 or 5 months out of the year, you really don't want to go outside, whether because of the extreme cold or the extreme hot. So having a place where people can always go to be able to play the sport that they love, also the community that's created, the events, the tournaments, the leagues, all the things that can come as a result of that too.
And now Asia, right? They just sold.
Now, exactly. Yep. Just sold in Asia, Canada as well.
Oh, wow.
So Pickler's gone international. So, and look, honestly too, I think, one of the big concerns with pickleball now is a lot of these noise ordinances and issues they're having with municipalities in and around the pickleball courts that have been built, in some of these public areas that are close to housing, and the complaints. So the idea that obviously all Pickler facilities it's indoor. So you're noise proof, you're, weatherproof, and you just created a community and kind of a consistent experience for people.
Along with Pickler, you have your tournament, which we touched on briefly.
Yeah.
It's in New Orleans. It's in August.
Yeah.
It's a cool time of year.
Yeah.
We were helped on the first year, and it was incredible. I thought, I'm a huge fan of the city. You brought in all the elements, the food and the music.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So NOLA Picklefest is what we call it. It's basically a festival style amateur pickleball tournament, but we build in all kinds of ancillary kind of events and things in and around it. So basically it's in New Orleans, August 6th through the 9th. It's in the New Orleans Convention Center. Don't worry, it's not outside in New Orleans in August. That wouldn't be good. We're in the Convention Center, so we have a massive space, about 200,000 square feet. So we got 25 courts going, all kinds of vendor booths, all kinds of food trucks, like a DJ. We have a center court that is surrounded by Mardi Gras floats. We have a big event at the on Saturday, kind of at the end of the tournament. Tournament with all kinds of different levels. Tons of sponsorship activity. Like we have something we call Midnight Madness, which kind of kicks off the whole event, where all the sponsors come out in costumes and they play a sponsor tournament, which is really fun. But then we do a party one night with all the players, a players party at one of our entertainment centers called Pickle and Pins, which is kind of an indoor pickleball facility in New Orleans. We're doing an 80s theme party on Friday night at Walk-Ons, which is another one of our businesses. And then Saturday, kind of everything culminates to this big event at Center Court with me and Andre Agassi, where we are going to play against a couple teams in doubles, where Andre and I are partners, and then Andre and I will play against each other in singles. So all that is to raise money for our foundation, Brees Dream Foundation, and all the initiatives we have going in New Orleans, which is in and around economic development projects, public-private partnerships with the city to build affordable housing, funding childcare programs, job skills training programs. So really excited about that.
Let me ask you a question. I think you've done a tremendous job of using your influence to give back. It sounds like most of your career, quite honestly. And just knowing you, I think you're a tremendous human being. Do you think it's the responsibility of athletes, musicians, influencers to give back?
Look, I think if it's authentic, like if it's something that you're compelled to do. I have so much gratitude for the position that I'm in. And I know that there were so many people that helped me along the way. I know that there were so many resources that, maybe I had or had access to that helped me get to this point. And not everybody has those, right? And so I think at the end of the day, number one, you either have a cause that is really important to you based on a personal experience or family member or something like that. Or I think in most cases, I think athletes look at, their communities and just say, what are the greatest needs of the community? Or how can I help young people, right? Like, how can I put young people in a position to succeed, whether that be through education, whether that be through mentorship, whether that be through providing them with an opportunity that they otherwise might not have had, that's going to help them achieve, what they were meant to achieve in life. So, like, do I hope that every athlete would take that, mindset in and around it? Yeah, absolutely. Because I think all of us could look back and say, man, like, think about all the things that had to happen in order for you to be in the position that you're in, right? Yeah, and that wasn't by chance. Like, that was God's blessing. It was all these people in your life. It was access to this resource or that resource. And so, man, let's lift everybody up.
And so, along with the serious stuff, we also have some less
lighthearted.
Yeah.
All right.
A big question in the racket sports world: you get to play tennis, pickleball, or padel for the rest of your life, you can only choose one.
Yeah.
I know you're a big padel guy lately. You started off playing tennis. You're a big investor in pickleball. What do you choose?
You know what? I would choose padel.
Oh, no.
Dude.
Why?
It's such a dynamic game. And I remember going. Like I remember playing racquetball as a kid. Goofing around in a racquetball court with my brother, and like just the idea of playing the ball off the walls and just like how dynamic the sport is. Basically, you've kind of taken pickleball and you've put it in like a racquetball court, right? And look, the ball can travel a lot faster. It's just such a combination of all these different sports. I mean, it's really tennis meets pickleball meets squash meets racquetball, right? And your ability to play the ball off the walls and just how there's really no end to any point unless you like really put somebody away. If the ball goes past you, the point's not over as it is in tennis and pickleball. No, it's going to come off the wall and then you have the chance to go on the offensive after that, right? So there's just so much strategy that goes into it that I'm relatively new to the sport, but I just think it's such a dynamic sport.
I mean, you've made your mark on pickle, so I respect that, and we appreciate everything you've done.
Well, look, you put me on the spot. You said if I can only play one, I'm gonna play all three and ping pong. I'm gonna play all four.
Which pro pickleball player is the best athlete that you've seen?
Ooh.
It's a good one.
That is a good one. I don't know if
He's like none. He's like nobody.
I think
like Tyson looks like he's a pretty athletic dude.
Yeah.
What about Thomas Wilson?
Yeah. I mean, he is a Purdue guy, so I gotta, I gotta give him, I gotta give him the edge there. And he's a Texas guy. I mean, Tyson was like a wrestler, as a kid, so there's like a grittiness and, I don't know. And he kind of, just being like a smaller kind of, looks like he's I know he's got some good movement skills. But yeah, I'm going to probably go Tyson.
Tyson would love this one, huh? Would Brady be a good pickleball player? I know he owns a team.
Yeah.
Try to get him into it at all as he is,
So typically, and look, you're one of the rare guys who has like a lot of height. Like the challenge with pickleball is so many balls that you're having to hit at your ankles, right? So like I would ask you, the challenge for a big man, right, playing pickleball. Brady is very similar body type to you.
How tall is he?
Oh, he's all of 6'5".
Wow.
All of 6'5", yeah.
6'5".
I did not know Tom Brady was 6'5".
All of 6'5".
6'3". Wow.
No, all of 6'5".
So I'll navigate Brady when he decides he wants to get in.
Yeah.
Does he play? Do you know?
I don't know.
All right. Last question.
Sure we can get him on the court.
Last question. You're stuck on an island.
Yeah.
You can bring one celebrity, one former teammate, and one pro pickleball player. Who are you bringing?
And
We've been on an island
this? That's right. Is this to play a pickleball match?
This is just who you.
Or we're hanging.
You're alone on an
This
island.
is it.
Yeah.
This is all you get.
Yeah.
All right, I'm bringing Roscoe.
Let's go, baby.
Let's see. You said former teammate.
Former teammate.
Okay.
And then what celebrity?
Yeah, I'm going to bring Kenny Chesney because I immediately got the island vibes.
Yeah.
Right.
He can entertain.
Like just barefoot, and he's playing the guitar, and we're like
probably build a fire. Maybe.
He used to come and hang out at training camp with us all the time.
I don't know who Kenny Chesney is.
That's Kenny Chesney.
That's
ridiculous. Dude, country legend. Come on.
I know, I'm not bad.
And then let's see. Taysom Hill was the first one that came to mind.
Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
You played with Taysom?
Yeah.
Well, Drew, really appreciate your time. It's been amazing getting to know you over the past couple of years, and you're just always so generous. I'm so appreciative of just who you are as a person, and also who you are as an influential person. I think you're an amazing role model for all people, especially kids. I love the way you view life and growth and personal development and just being your best. So just really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to add, and I'm not just saying this because you're here. You are such a good role model to guys like me, and just people in general are always talking about how good of a dude you are. It was literally just a few days ago, or before we knew we were doing this, it was my dad. He was just saying like, man, Drew is such a good guy, and more people need to be like him. So so special having you on here and keep inspiring people.
Thank you guys very much. This is awesome.
Thanks, Drew.